Hello everyone, this is Dave from Dave's Wreaths and Things. We are just trotting along, or should I say hopping along, with our celebration of Easter with 7 days, 7 wreaths of Wreathster week. I'm just going to quickly jump right into it. Let's get started and I'll show you what I created for day number 4 of Wreathster week. I'm using a 14-inch round wire wreath frame along with 10-inch Deco mesh. These I just had laying around the house, so I thought I would use them. This wooden cutout bunny, some self-adhesive wall tiles that are embossed, this little wooden box, these little wooden hearts we're going to use today, and of course I'm using 2.5-inch wired ribbon and this rust color 2.5-inch wired ribbon as well. Along with these pastel color eggs, I had these laying around the house as well. A lot of the items I'm using today, I just kind of had laying around, so I thought I'd throw together a nice easy wreath. And to start off, what I'm doing is I'm taking the self-adhesive tile and I'm just cutting off a sliver at the very end. And what that'll do is that'll allow me to take apart the embossed section from the self-adhesive backing on that tile. I don't want to use the backing, I just want to use the tile. And then I'm going to take our little wooden bunny cutout and trace around and cut around using my Sharpie and then using my scissors to cut out that tile in that bunny shape that is on the wooden cutout. Once that's all done, I'm going to use some tacky glue right on that wooden base there. And the reason why I'm using tacky glue is because I don't want to have the glue stick so quickly. So if I used hot glue, we all know it sticks so fast. So I wanted to have time to lay down that adhesive, put it in place, and make sure it stays. So once I just spread that glue around, I'm going to fiddle around with it, getting that tile on how I want it. And then once that tile's all down, I'm just going to use some of my scrapbooks. And these scrapbooks, a lot of questions from you all out there ask me where I get my ideas, how do I get my ideas. So a lot of the time I will use scrapbooks just to write down and jot down some ideas. So there you go, I'm just using these scrapbooks to hold it in place. Once it's all dry, I'm going to take some white acrylic paint, and I'm using quite a bit of it. I'm going to use this as a primer for my final coat. So right here you can kind of see I'm just basically painting on that primer coat, getting it nice and thick. Once it's all painted, I'm just going to let that fully dry before I do my final color. And here is that final color. It is a nice pastel green. I'm going to paint the entire surface and the sides, and again, let that completely dry as well. My final step is I'm just going to take a paintbrush and do a little dry brushing to really bring out that embossed tile. So I'm just dipping my paintbrush into that paint a little bit and very, very lightly going across the top of that embossed, really bringing out that texture, bringing out that pattern. And I just love the look of this. It looks so beautiful with that dark brown. Now I am just very, very lightly, as you can see here, I'm not pressing into the surface. I'm just doing it very lightly on the surface all the way around, really just covering that embossed texture with that paintbrush and that dark brown. Once I get the effect that I'm looking for, I just let that dry fully. And then we can continue on with our project. Now here are my wooden hearts, and you might be thinking, why am I using wooden hearts? And I'm just going to mix a little bit of beige and a little bit of neon pink to get the pale pink color that I'm looking for. And what I'm actually going to be using this heart for is the nose of our bunny. Yes, there is a method to my madness here, and once that's painted, I'm going to let it dry completely before we move on. And now I'm going to do some more painting of the box. I'm taking some water and some brown. This is a really dark brown acrylic paint again. And I'm going to mix that together to the consistency of about a thick chocolate milk, if you will. And then I'm just going to paint the sides And I'm also going to paint the bottom portion of this, and as well, I'm going to paint the inside of my box. And once I get all of that painted, I'm just going to let that dry as well with all the other projects. And then I'm going to start off with cutting my deco mesh, and I'm cutting at 20 inches today. I have two colors. I have this beige color and I also have a multicolored one. And I'm just going to use my rotary cutter and cut that at 20-inch lengths. I'm doing 8 of the solid color, and here is my multicolored. I'm going to cut at 20 inches again, and I'm going to cut 8 lengths of that 20 inches. So again, our deco mesh cut lengths, we have mesh number 1 with 8 pieces cut at 20 inches, and mesh number 2, I have 8 pieces cut at 20 inches. So that's a total of 16 pieces of deco mesh cut at the 20-inch mark. Before we attach anything, I'm going to create a working wreath frame using my frame and pipe cleaners, and I'm going to be working on the 2 outside wires first, and I'm just going to wrap that pipe cleaner around the anchor and those 2 outside wires. Just give it a couple of good twists. I'm not going to cut that pipe cleaner, and then I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to use this, a clock sample, let's say, a clock example. I'm going to start at the 12 o'clock, add one at the 6 o'clock, then I'm going to add one at the 3 o'clock and the 9 o'clock as well. And that's going to create the outside of our working frame. Once I do that, I'm going to come in and add more right in between the 2 pipe cleaners that I've placed right in the middle. So now we have a total of 8 stems on the outside. Once we have those 8 stems all set into place, I'm going to start just by adding a little bit of hot glue right on the sides, just to make sure it's nice and secure and that it doesn't go anywhere. So this is totally optional. You don't have to do this, but I like to do it to make sure those stems don't go anywhere. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to use the 2 inside wires now and place my inside round of my stems right in between the 2 outside stems. So it's the same process. I'm just adding those pipe cleaners on there, twisting it around a little bit, adding some hot glue to make sure they stay in place. And once I'm done, I have a total of 16 stems, 8 on the inside, 8 on the outside, and this is a side view of how that should look once you're completed. And then of course now it's time to add that mesh. Here is my 20-inch cut mesh. I'm just going to flip it over so the curl faces down. I'm going to use a pair of scissors as an anchor, and then I'm just going to work at the bottom portion. So at the bottom we have the cut piece, and then on the 2 sides we have the finished factory edges. At the bottom, let's just flip it under a little bit, and then I'm just going to press that down, kind of creating a little bit of a crease. Then I'm going to use my 2 thumbs as anchors right in the middle, hold that down, and then my fingers are all free to do some walking. And what we're going to do is we're going to go right up that middle using our 8 fingers, and we are just going to walk up as we gather that mesh right in between our fingers and our thumbs. And it's really nice and easy. You just walk up right to the center, collecting all of that mesh. Once you get to the top, we have another cut edge. So I'm going to flip it under, just like we did right at the beginning, and then add that to our ruffle so we can hide those cut edges. Then we find our middle, we're going to fluff it up a little bit, and then we're just going to add that right in between those 2 stems that we just placed, and then we're going to twist it around so it's nice and secure and add a little fluff to it. Now we're going to move on to our second piece. We're going to do the exact same thing. Flip over the bottom, use your thumbs as an anchor, and walk those fingers right down the center of that mesh. Flip up the end so we can hide that cut piece. Find your center, fluff it up a little bit, and then add it right in between those 2 pipe cleaners and secure it by twisting it right in place. And I'm going to continue on doing the exact same method all around the outside. I like to work outside in. You don't have to. You can work on the inside out. But here I am adding my final ruffle to the outside, and look how beautiful it looks already. Now let's work on the inside. We're going to do the exact same method. We're not changing anything here. and then I'm just going to add it into that inside round of those stems. So our first one's going in, finding that center, placing it in between those two pipe cleaners and wrapping it around. And then I'm just going to work all the way around on the inside, following the same method, following the same procedure for each of our wreath deco mesh attachments. Once we're done, we can do a little fluffing, but look how gorgeous this looks already. I'm loving it already. Now what I do is I take off those little excess pipe cleaners and I'm just going to use my scissors and chop them off. Now I originally had beige pipe cleaners, but they are lost in my craft room. I know this happens to all of us. So I had to use these gold ones, but I wanted to hide them. So what I'm going to do is I had this little bucket or a little container of these beads, and I thought if I just put a little hot glue right on top of the pipe cleaners and then add that bead in there, that's going to cover the gold portion and that gold won't be seen as it's covered by the bead. So I'm going to do that all the way around, and once I finish doing that, we have our base wreath all ready. All that gold pipe cleaner is covered and we're ready for our bow making. And to create my bow today, I'm using my ruler and I'm going to measure out 10 inches, pinch it, and then I'm going to place that into my left hand. And then I'm going to lay it back down and I'm going to measure out 12 inches, pinch it together and bring that back into my left hand again. So now we've created a bow at the top and a tail at the bottom. For this bow, I'm going to do 3 6-inch loops, which is the 12-inch mark. And then I'm creating a second one here. Now let's create our third. We're going to lay it down, measure out that 12 inches, bring it to our left hand, and all we have to do now, we've got our 3 loops, 1 tail. We have to create another tail. So I'm going to come out and measure the 10 inches, bring out my scissors, and I'm going to cut at that 10-inch mark. And the first bundle is already complete. We just have to attach a pipe cleaner to it. Twist that around a couple of times. Don't cut the pipe cleaner. This is how we're going to attach it to our wreath, but our first layer is done. To do the second layer, I'm going to squish it at the 8-inch mark, and I'm going to follow the exact same procedure. So I have an 8-inch tail, and this time I'm going to do 5-inch loops, and I'm going to squish it together, bringing it at the 10-inch mark, which will create those 5-inch loops. Again, I'm creating 3 loops and 1 tail, so I do the tail, and then I'm going to cut it, then wrap that pipe cleaner around it. Again, don't cut your pipe cleaner short because this is how we're going to attach it all together, but we have our second layer all complete. For our final layer, I'm coming in at 6 inches, pinching it again. Again, this is the exact same procedure we're doing before. This time I'm using 4-inch loops, so that's an 8-inch loop that we're doing. And then we're going to do another 8 inches, and then we're going to cut our mesh, put it together, and twist with that ribbon right in there. Then I'm just going to finish it off by doing some dovetailing, and now we've got all 3 pieces ready to go. We have our pipe cleaner at the back. We'll take those pipe cleaners, wrap it around our first layer, just get that nice and secured in there, twisting it around, making sure it's nice and secure, and then I'm going to chop off the excess, not the long ones, the short ones. And then I'm going to add my final layer on there and wrap that pipe cleaner around, making sure it's nice and secure, chopping off that excess, and then we have our bow all ready to fluff, 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 because we love fluffing bows on our channel. Now it's time to attach our little nose. So this is just an upside down heart that I painted pink. I'm going to use a little hot glue, place that right in the center there to create our little pink nose on our bunny. Once that's all dry, I am actually going to put my little bunny on an angle, and I've just attached pipe cleaners on the back using hot glue. I'm going to place those in the upright position, and then I'm just going to flip that over, feed those pipe cleaners through the back, and wrap that around a couple of those wires, getting it nice and secure. I'm going to do that for the top and the bottom. Once that's all wrapped, my little guy is all attached and ready for the final embellishments. I'm going to first start off by attaching my box. I added some burlap right in the center of that box. I'm going to glue it down using hot glue, hold it in place, and then I'm just going to attach my bow the same way we attached the little bunny there. Feed the pipe cleaner, twist it right around the back, and then we can start fluffing up that bow, creating a big, beautiful bow. Just love how this turned out. And of course, our final touches are going to be these beautiful pastel eggs. These are just styrofoam eggs. I'm using hot glue to attach them on there. And I'm also attaching some on the side, so it kind of looks like it's falling out a little bit of the basket. But here is our final wreath with our big, beautiful bow. Kind of not so traditional, bright Easter colors, but kind of a pastel to match those eggs and to match that tile bunny that we brushed on that brown to really bring out that embossed. Just a gorgeous Easter wreath for day number 4 of Wreathster week. Don't forget, the playlist is right down below. Click on that and that'll bring you to the other episodes of Wreathster week. Thank you so much for watching and joining me today in day number 4 of Wreathster week. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be notified whenever I upload a new project. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye for now.